Imagine waking up one morning with a disturbing realization. The life you're living may not truly be your own. The choices you make, the beliefs you hold, and even the things you desire may have been shaped by forces you never consciously chose.
Think about your identity. How much of it comes from your authentic self and how much was created by your upbringing, society, expectations, fear, and the need to belong?
Sometimes it feels as if we're simply playing a role, following a script written by our family, our culture, society, or the fears inside our own minds.
Carl Jung spent his life exploring this problem. He asked, what happens when a person stops living only according to the outside world and begins searching for the deeper self within?
Jung became one of the great pioneers of depth psychology. He believed that beneath conscious thought exists a vast hidden world, the unconscious.
For Jung, psychological growth wasn't simply about learning to fit into society. It was about becoming a more complete version of yourself. He called this process individuation.
But most people never truly begin this journey. They build their lives around approval, success, belonging, and the expectations of other people.
From the outside, everything may look fine. Yet inside, there can be a quiet feeling that something is missing, a feeling that no amount of success or approval completely removes.
This process begins early. From childhood, we're taught what is acceptable and what isn't, what is rewarded and what is punished, and what kind of person we're expected to become. Maybe you were told to be more realistic. Maybe you were called too sensitive, too emotional, too strange, or simply told that certain feelings and desires were unacceptable. Slowly, you learn to hide those parts.
Over time, we create a version of ourselves that the world can accept. Jung called this the persona, the face we present to other people.
The persona isn't necessarily bad. We need some kind of social identity to work, communicate, build relationships, and live together. The problem begins when we forget that it is only a role. When we identify too strongly with the persona, we begin to believe the mask is who we really are. We forget that there may be something much deeper underneath it.
And then there is the other side of the persona, the shadow. If the persona contains what we show the world, the shadow contains what we hide. The shadow can contain fear, anger, vulnerability, forbidden desires, painful memories, and even strengths we never learned to accept. But hiding these parts doesn't make them disappear. They continue working beneath the surface, influencing our thoughts, our behavior, our relationships, and the emotions we don't fully understand. Have you ever strongly disliked someone without understanding why? Have certain qualities in another person triggered an unusually powerful reaction in you? Jung believed that sometimes what disturbs us in others can reveal something hidden inside ourselves. This is projection, and it can become the first clue leading us toward the shadow. But Jung's great insight was that the shadow isn't simply an enemy that must be destroyed. The parts of ourselves we've rejected may actually contain pieces of our personality that were never allowed to develop. The goal, then, is not to eliminate the shadow. It is to recognize it, understand it, and gradually bring those hidden parts back into the whole person. And this is where the real journey begins. Finding yourself means facing things about yourself that you may have spent years avoiding. Most people believe they already know who they are. They define themselves through their name, their job, their culture, their history, and the roles they've learned to play. But Jung believed that the person we consciously know is only a small part of a much larger inner world. Inside that hidden world are forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unrecognized desires, and possibilities that may have never reached your conscious mind. Sometimes you feel a strange longing for something more. You can't explain it, but somewhere inside, you sense that another version of your life is waiting to emerge. For Jung, this longing can be part of individuation, the movement away from simply conforming and toward becoming a more complete person. But becoming more conscious is uncomfortable. It means questioning beliefs you've carried for years, challenging fears, and confronting conflicts you've buried deep inside. That's why we often keep ourselves busy. Work, entertainment, social media, noise, and endless distractions can keep us from sitting alone with our own thoughts. Because when the noise finally stops, uncomfortable questions can rise to the surface. What do I really want? What am I afraid of? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Jung believed the unconscious is always communicating with us, even when we don't notice it. It can appear through emotions, dreams, instincts, repeating behaviors, and unexpected reactions. Take the fear of rejection. Someone may constantly seek approval, avoid conflict, and hide their real thoughts just to keep other people happy. But the fear may be connected to something much older. Perhaps it began with an early experience of feeling unseen, unwanted, or unworthy. The adult fear may be the echo of that unresolved experience. But once you recognize the pattern, something changes. The fear is still there, but it no longer controls you from the shadows. You can finally observe it instead of automatically obeying it. Jung believed dreams and symbols could provide another path into the unconscious. A dream may not predict the future, but it can reveal something your conscious mind has ignored. Creative expression can work in a similar way. Writing, painting, music, imagination, and quiet reflection can give shape to feelings that ordinary language cannot easily explain. But perhaps the most important step is simpler than all of this: awareness. The moment you begin questioning your thoughts, your reactions, and the beliefs you've taken for granted, you begin to change. And this brings us to another important part of Jung's psychology: archetypes. Jung believed that beneath our individual experiences are deep patterns that appear again and again across human life. He called these patterns archetypes and connected them to what he called the collective unconscious, a deeper layer of the psyche containing universal patterns shared across humanity. Look at the stories humans have told for thousands of years: the hero, the wise guide, the innocent child, the dangerous shadow. Similar patterns appear in myths, religions, literature, dreams, and even modern stories. Take the hero archetype. It represents the part of us that wants meaning, that wants to overcome obstacles, grow stronger, and become something greater. But the hero cannot avoid the shadow forever. In myths, the hero must eventually confront a monster or enemy. Psychologically, that monster can represent the parts of ourselves we refuse to face. Think about your own life. Have you ever known that you needed to change, but something inside you resisted? Fear, doubt, or self-sabotage can become the shadow fighting against the person you want to become. Jung's answer wasn't to destroy that resistance. It was to understand it. Instead of asking why you are weak, ask where the resistance came from and what it might be trying to teach you. Jung also described the Anima and Animus, the psychological images of qualities traditionally associated with the feminine and masculine within the psyche. For him, psychological wholeness required recognizing qualities we might otherwise reject. Emotion and reason, intuition and structure, sensitivity and strength can exist together. When we reject one side completely, inner conflict can grow. When we recognize both, we become more psychologically balanced. And this brings us back to individuation. Finding yourself doesn't mean becoming a completely different person. It means bringing together the different parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the known and the unknown. But there is one deeper illusion we have to confront: the belief that we are one fixed, unchanging identity. We often imagine the same me, simply moving through time. Jung separated the everyday ego from the larger self. The ego gives us our ordinary identity, the voice that says, "This is who I am." But the self represents the wider totality of the psyche, including the unconscious parts we don't normally see. So you are not only your name, your job, your past, your personality, or the labels other people gave you. These things are parts of your story, but they don't have to define its entire meaning. Jung's path requires courage. Embrace the unknown. Listen to your dreams and instincts, question your patterns, and remain open to what you discover. Finding yourself is not a destination. It is an ongoing process of becoming. And perhaps the deepest realization is this: you were never completely lost. The self you were searching for was beneath the masks, the fears, the expectations, and the stories you built about yourself. You don't have to become someone else. You have to become more conscious of who you are. Because life may not truly begin when you find a new self. It begins when you finally stop pretending to be someone you're not.